Way off. Alright, take 7,692,000. Can you hear me good? Do I need to be way up here? I think I can live with that. Yeah. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Knuckle Sandwich Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Anderson, and today we're going over UFC Singapore, Holloway versus Korean Zombie. Let me tell you, there were fireworks throughout the entire card, from the prelims all the way up to the main card. I wasn't awake for them all in the prelims, but I saw a few, and there was some big knockouts. I can't wait to go over all of our picks, all of the success that we had. We went 5 for 5. We're perfect. So listen to me from now on. Gosh darn it. If you're ready, grab a sandwich, put in your headphones, turn up the volume, because here we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, I did not watch the prelims of this fight because it started at 4 a.m. Central Time. And if you know me, then you know that I'm a person that likes my sleep. So I was not going to sacrifice it just for that, right? I might have, could have. There was some pretty impressive performances. Shout out to Waldo and Armstead. I did see those, and those were great. But the bread and butter, what we're here for, is the main card, and that's what we picked on last week. We went 5 for 5 on our picks. Completely perfect. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. So this is now the time that I can say, listen to me and listen to what I have to say, because I know it's important and I know I'm right. Let's go ahead and start off with the first fight of the main card. Junior Tafa versus Parker Porter. Let me just say this. Ready? I told you so. I knew it. Junior Tafa learned from his wrestling mistakes against Muhammad Usman. He got the KO win in round 1 over Parker Porter. He started off very loose and confident. Porter tried to put the pressure on him. He got caught with some big shots, and Tafa landed a huge knee that stumbled Porter. He defended the takedown beautifully. And like I said, so you know in that perspective that he's been working on his wrestling, because if you watch his first fight against Muhammad Usman, it did not work. He had no wrestling defense. He's been working on it. He fought a bigger fighter, and he was able to hold his own. When they separated, he landed a huge elbow that stunned Porter again and finished him off with a big right overhand to have him face plant to the ground. Let's not forget here, this was only Junior's 6th fight, MMA fight, but the dude's a professional kickboxer, professional boxer. He's been doing this for a long time, and the Tafa brothers are some bad mamma jammas. Hopefully, maybe, what if he turns around a little bit and goes into Sydney? 2 weeks away, he didn't take much damage at all. That would probably be an impressive fight or impressive place for him to beat. It's his hometown. Put him on an Australia card. He didn't take any damage. Give him Walt Harris or something like that. But we started off the night perfect, 1 for 1 after the Tafa Porter fight. Going into the second fight, let me just say this first and foremost. I feel like this was very disrespectful in the sense that they put the number 3 and number 4 ranked ladies as the second main card fight. These girls should have been, I know they were scheduled at one point for a main event, but they should have at least been a co-main somewhere, okay? But, you know, it is what it is. Erin Blanchfield has got that dog in her. Point blank period, right? Round 1 started off a little slow. She took some shots early. It had me a little worried. But in the pre-fight press conference leading up in the week, she had stated that watching the Shevchenko-Santos fight, that she noticed that as the fight went on, she got a little more tired. She started to tire out, lose some energy, slow down. So that was her game plan, is to tire her out. Rounds 2 and 3, she did just that. She began suffocating Santos against the cage. She began smothering her, keeping close contact, making her feel the weight of her and carry that around to tire her out. She landed elbows and was constantly just kind of wrestling and picking her apart in round 2 and round 3. Round 3 is where she really started to pick up the pace, okay? She picked it up with the hands. She actually dropped Santos at the end of the round in round 3 and ultimately won via unanimous decision. At the end of the fight, she did call for the winner of Grasso and Shevchenko. And with this now being her 9th straight win, 6th in the UFC, it's hard to argue anything else, as she's ranked number 3 in the division and number 2 fights next week. So what's next for Erin Blanchfield? It's got to be the winner of Grasso Shevchenko. And I could understand if Shevchenko wins and they do the third fight, blah, 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 whatever. But you've got to give Erin Blanchfield a chance. I believe she is probably the future of this division. You've got to give her a chance and give her a title shot up next. Moving into the third fight, Giga Chikadze versus Alex Bruce Leroy Caceres. I had stated last week that I thought that this would be fireworks. I thought that this would be a striking clinic, kicks galore. And it honestly was. It was a fantastic fight for Giga Chikadze. He was calm and collective when finding the range and timing against a karate fighter like Caceres. And Giga is a karate martial artist as well, in his own rights and own perspective and own respect. He looked fantastic in his striking. Like I said, he was calm and collected. The first half of the first round was more of a filling out process, trying to see how crazy, how cute, how wild Caceres was going to throw, because like I said last week, if he starts to get cute and get wild, then that's whenever Giga is going to attack, and that's what he did. Alex Caceres tried to throw a lot of these connected kicks, going from the body to a spinning head, these side kicks, oblique kicks, things of that nature, but it didn't really work because Giga was so good at moving in and out, forward and backwards. Now, does Giga move in a straight line most of the time? Yes. Did Caceres move in circles most of the time? Yes. But we noticed the counter striking of Giga was the separator and was what ultimately won him the fight. He was able to read and react perfectly to Caceres' kicks and such and strikes. Now, he didn't knock him out, no, but he was able to land big and powerful shots that won him the fight by unanimous decision. The judges said 30-27. I had it 29-28. I thought Caceres controlled most of that first round, and Giga was a little bit of a slow starter. Ended the first round good, but the majority of that was for Caceres. So I had it 29-28, but I still had Giga winning by unanimous decision. In his interview afterwards, he said that he had an announcement to make, and it sounded like it was kind of going backwards. Like he was like, oh, I'm going to retire, blah, 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 blah. No, it was the complete opposite. He turned it around and he said, Giga Chikadze is back. Beep, 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 beep. Yeah, I'm not saying those words. This is a clean podcast, gosh darn it. I won't cuss on the podcast. But he said that he's back. He calls out Yair Rodriguez in the back whenever he's talking to the other interviewer, commentator, analyst. Said that he wanted Yair in December. He's never been on a pay-per-view card. He feels like it's time, and I would agree so because he's won 10 out of his last 11. Now, he did just come off like an 18-month long hiatus, nursing an injury, took a first loss against Cater in a while. But so what's next for him? I don't believe that Yair is next for him. I think that would be a fun fight, but I do believe that Yair is still a little bit above. What I would like to see next for him is two guys. I originally had three. I now have two. I had Movsar Evloev on there, but I think with his fight being so close with Diego Lopez on that short notice, I don't believe that Giga, winning 10 of his last 11, needs to fight down. He should fight up. Two guys I have in mind. Arnold Allen, Josh Emmett. Both of those men, I would honestly like both of them to fight, but if Giga's got to fight somebody next in December, I think it should be one of those two. Because both of those guys are willing to produce fireworks, and I think Giga really is as well. So Arnold Allen, Josh Emmett, Giga Chikadze, they're on this little triangle like the Spider-Man meme, just pointing fingers back at each other. I'm curious to see who's going to go first, but I would love to see two of those three guys fight in some shape, way, or form. Moving into our co-main event of the evening, Anthony Lionheart Smith, Ryan Spann. This was a very close fight. We're 3-3 on this point. We're killing it at this point, and I've got my faith in Anthony Smith, right? The first round of this fight almost feels like the first fight between these two guys. Smith lands a few right hands, big right hands. He gets the takedown. Spann landed some big shots as well, heavy shots, but Smith had multiple knockdowns with the calf kicks in the first round that won him the first round. Round two, Ryan Spann flips the script completely. He has a beautiful right overhand, left looping uppercut combination that just creates this huge black welt under Smith's eye, cuts him, stuns him, lands this flying knee to the shoulders that knocks him down. I mean, he put the pressure on, and I thought that the fight was going to be over. Smith somehow recollects himself, gets into the third round. Before the third round, doctor comes in, looks at the eye, says he's good. Of course he's good. It's Anthony Lionheart. Look at the nickname, Lionheart. Lawton, throw up the definition of Lionheart up there. It's going to be Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith is the definition. He's a fighter, right? He doesn't want to give up. Round 3 for me was such a toss-up, to be completely fair. I think Smith landed more strikes, but Spann was more aggressive in the latter of the round. But I don't think that they got the decision necessarily wrong, but I do believe it could have went either way. Smith ended up getting the split decision victory, and for his 55th professional fight, he comes out on top to get his 37th win. That's impressive in itself, man. He didn't call anybody out, but I've got a few call-outs that he should have done. So what's next for Anthony Smith? 3 names. Khalil Roundtree Jr., huge knockout over Chris Daukaus in his last fight. Wants a fight night main event, and I think that these two could produce a great one. Next, Volkan Oezdemir. He fights next weekend against Bogdan Gustav or something like that. An absolute killer over in Russia. I think that's going to be a fantastic fight in itself, and we'll talk about that later this week. But I think if Volkan can come out on top, I think that would be a great fight between Volkan and Anthony Smith. And then Nikita Krylov, I think, is needing an opponent. I would like to see possibly Smith and Krylov. They have a very similar game, and I think that would make a good matchup between the two of them. So either Khalil Roundtree, Volkan Oezdemir, Nikita Krylov, Anthony Smith, book it. Boom. UFC, you need to hire me, man. I'm guessing all these fights and all that stuff. Just make me the matchmaker. All right, it's time for the main event breakdown. The reason we're all here, Max Blessed Holloway versus Chan Sung Jung, the Korean Zombie. Woo, man. Wow. Just wow. That's all I have to say. That's it. A good pot. No, I'm just kidding. It's not all. We're going to break this down. But honestly, I could talk about these two guys and both of their respective careers probably for an hour apiece. They could be their own episode. They're both legends in the sport, both pioneers of the featherweight division. I mean, they're both fantastic and have been around for a long time. It's very odd to me that they are just now finally meeting in this fight. For me, in my opinion, this fight had so much, I say tension, but I feel like I really mean emotion. It had so much emotion to it. There was a lot of anticipation. There was a lot of build-up due to these two being legends in the sport. The situation over in Maui with the fires and Holloway being from Hawaii, and then the potential retirement fight for Korean Zombie in this fight. I mean, there were so many things playing into the buildup of it that it was just this emotional roller coaster. Your heart's just kind of all over the place before the fight even begins. I don't want to talk about both their careers and all that stuff, so let's just get into the fight, okay? So when I initially saw that these two were truly finally going to fight, excitement ran through my veins. Like I said last week, we were blessed to cover Max Holloway in our very first podcast when he fought Arnold Allen, and this is the fight that I called for that they should have done, and they booked it not long after that, so I was very glad for that. And again, it's so crazy that they haven't fought. It's insane. But before the fight even begins, the entire building is already standing. We're in Asia. It's Korean Zombie. There were huge fans of Max Holloway too because they were chanting for both fighters. Started out with Zombie, 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 then it was Holloway, 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 and it just kept going back and forth this entire fight between the crowd themselves. But I think the biggest thing that happened in this fight or two before this fight was Korean Zombie's walking out to Zombie, of course. The entire building is yelling, and it's like the longest walkout that I've ever experienced in my life, but it was the most emotional, the most, you just had to soak that moment in as it's happening live because it was truly amazing. I mean, come on, right? It's Korean Zombie. I just remember watching him through the WEC days and then coming over to, it's insane. So, in round 1, both of these men come out swinging in attempts to live up to both of their names and the hype of this fight. Like I said last week, sometimes in main events you get this filling out process in round 1. Yeah, we didn't get that here. They both came ready to freaking go. Chan Sung Jung is landing combos by faking the left, lunging forward with the right. Max continues to step left, land left hooks over the low right hand of Zombie. I mean, they're just going back and forth. Both of them taking shots, testing the chin early. It was fantastic first round. Max in round 2 drops Korean Zombie. He looks at Goddard and is like, hey, are you going to stop it? Because he respects Zombie. He knows the fights that he's been through, the punishment that he's taken, and he doesn't want to give him any more unnecessary punishment. As Goddard doesn't stop it because Zombie's kind of on his way up, he jumps on him, tries to grab an anaconda choke, and tries to choke him out, and he thinks he's not breathing, and he's looking at Goddard like, hey, is he out? No, he wasn't out. He was still going. He was still getting up. He was still moving. And I think at that moment, Max was like, I'm going to have to either knock this dude out or I'm going to get knocked out, right? Like, you can tell that he doesn't want to cause damage, but also Zombie knows that what the outcome of this fight will be due to the chin of Max, and that the fact that he's been taking these shots and not even flinching, not even reacting, just coming straight back to him. I mean, both of these guys just looked game ready for this fight. Round 3 starts and Zombie just rushes in. And I feel like his corner in between rounds was just like, hey, we're going. Either you're going out or he's going out. Just let's do this thing. Zombie is called Zombie for a reason. He showed why in that 3rd round, or in this whole fight, really. He just continued to kept coming forward, taking shots. He would back up slightly and then come forward again. The two of these guys just started trading blows back and forth, and while you're watching this, you're waiting for one of them to fall. Max ends up stepping back to the cage, loads up, and just overhand right straight to the jaw of Zombie. Zombie's coming at him with a right hand of his own, ends up not connecting in time, and the final blow that puts Zombie away, face plants to the canvas. I mean, it was incredible. I yelled. I was all over the place. I'm still excited from that. I want to go watch it again right now. After the fight, as soon as it's over, Holloway celebrates very briefly, but then he jumps over the cage and goes and embraces his wife in this emotional victory for him. And then immediately after that, jumps back in again, goes to Zombie to help him up and celebrate with him. He didn't say much about the fight afterwards, but he did 3 things. Number 1, he thanked Jesus Christ. Number 2, he congratulated Zombie. And number 3, he dedicated his performance to the people of Maui to give them something to celebrate, to be looking forward to be happy for in this time of need. Zombie, right after the fight, takes off his gloves one final time, lays them on the canvas, and announces a retirement from the UFC. Such an emotional roller coaster in this fight. You know, in this featherweight division, it's completely stacked, and it's kind of been one-sided with Volkanovski. And so what's next for Max Holloway? You would almost think that it has to be a 4th fight with Volk. It sounds crazy, I know, but there's not much else or many other people that he should be fighting. Like, Ilya Topuria and Alex are more than likely going to happen next. But other than that, what else is there for Max other than to wait it out and see what happens in the featherweight division? He could go up. And I say that because there's one guy in his last defeat other than Volk that fights at 155. That's Conor McGregor. I would like to see him maybe avenge that loss. Hey, buddy. I would like to see him avenge that loss. And, so I think it's either Volkanovski or Conor McGregor. He said he wants 20 more fights. I think that's insane, but I would love to see it. Max Holloway is becoming more and more one of my favorite fighters of all time, especially with a performance like this. Guys, I hope you loved this podcast. I hope you loved this episode because I love doing this. I like these early Saturday morning fights. UFC, please just start doing 7 a.m. fights from now on because I feel energized. I feel ready to go. I'm so excited. I could go in there myself. I won't do that. But hey, I love this episode. I love you guys. Please, if you will, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share this to your friends, hit the notification bell so you know when I'm posting next. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. I'll put all the links down below. I love you all. We're getting some interviews signed up and lined up with a buddy of mine that has a promotion in Jackson, Tennessee, and a fight coming up November 11th. Ryan Collins, another guy of mine, Nick Davis. I'm getting something hopefully soon scheduled with him to go over his gym in Memphis, Tennessee, as well as Anthony Maness. He is a UFC and Bellator judge and all-around fantastic dude that's been in the game for longer than I've been alive. So we're getting some exciting things built up with all that. I'm looking forward to everything coming soon. I love you all. Please continue to share with your friends, and I hope you have a great weekend. Peace!